GM, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Thursday, October 23rd. Folks, it is a big day. Tuesday for token news. MegaETH airdrop is live for trading. MegaETH, several announcements. ICO auction yesterday, today, shed some more light on what that Mega token utility, also Mega, live for trading over on Hyperliquid Perps right now. And we've got the man bread guy in the studio with us here this morning to tell us all what it means. Bread, GM, how you doing?
Thanks for having me, buddy. Yeah, like we were just doing some reminiscing before the show went live. For those who don't know the lore, Tyler and I cut it up pretty heavily in the Friend Tech days. What was that? That would have been late 23. So almost
August 23 is when it really got started. And then we started doing the content from there, probably into like October-ish.
Nice. Yeah, like so about 2 years now of like doing this stuff. We used to do like every Friday we'd hang out, chill for a little bit. I saw you doing the morning shows then too before FOMO hours. So it's happy to share the stage again.
Yeah, we had the Friend Tech Friday happy hours. And this was, if folks don't know, or if you weren't here, this was coming out of the depths of the bear market.
Yeah.
I think summer 2023, I think you can classify as pretty much the lows.
Yeah.
I have to go back.
Was it like the DeFi summer? Because like remember before the last bull run, DeFi summer happened, and then like the bull run happened. There was like the blip was DeFi summer. Do you think that was our DeFi summer? Like that was it's coming back, and then we dipped a little bit, and then now we're actually back.
Do we owe everything we have to Racer? Is that what you're alluding to?
Listen, man. Hey, like I don't, maybe a bridge too far, but is it, a lot?
I actually do owe a lot to Racer. It's a long story, but I was my personal on-chain holdings were at also bear market lows, and FinTech is what got me out of the gutter.
Yeah, it wasn't a good ending for me, but like, yeah, it was. It definitely like pilled me, like brought me into the ecosystem much harder because like I was still technically working my old job then. Like I joined Mega a year ago now, so just at 2 year, I had a year gap, and that's what filled that was like doing the Friend Tech stuff. It's like, okay, maybe I can actually turn this into a thing.
Love it, and here you are now. What is your go-to-market lead? Maybe what is your type?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small team, so like we all have a lot of hats. Like I'm technically the CMO, so Chief Marketing Officer. I like go to market. People understand that more. Like I like that more than I like the marketing officer stuff because I'm not especially creative, but I feel like effective when doing the socials stuff and like coordinating all of that. So I think go to market is probably the more appropriate term. So I have that for now, but I've been Chief Community Officer, cult leader. Like we don't have a lot of formal titles.
And if you guys don't know, Brett, he also is a market commentator as well on Modern Market. What, 3 days a week you're on Modern Market? Yeah. Is that right?
I do more if I wasn't in the time zone than I am, but that does it for me. 4 a.m. start time for those three: Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Modern Market.
Brett is up at 4 a.m. to do a crypto morning show, folks. That is dedication. Well, we're so happy to have you on with us here this morning. We are going to talk MegaETH, but save it for the second half of the show. We are going to start with our standard market report, some Bitcoin versus gold. New bull porn has dropped. Hyperliquid listed on Robinhood, Kraken, Jupiter pumping their revenue numbers. This MegaETH airdrop is live. We'll check in on price action there. A16Z dropped their State of Crypto 2025. We'll run through those themes and trends, what they are seeing. BlackRock explaining why they're so focused on ETH and Bitcoin for their ETFs and not branching out, and where they think we are in the ETF progression. I thought that was an insightful article from Blockworks. Prediction market raises going through the roof. They're battling band for band. Poly market 15 billion, Kalshi at 10 now. Just insane numbers. Limitless debuted its prediction market token yesterday. And then, of course, the back half.
The crash out. Yeah.
Wild crash out. Yeah, we'll have to cover that briefly. Then everything MegaETH, the back half of the show. So I'm excited for this one. Before we dive in, shout out to our partner, Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect powers billions in volume monthly across wallets, apps, users, and institutions. That blue logo, it's everywhere. An icon of trust in crypto, as recognizable as Visa at the checkout. If you want to learn more, follow at Wallet Connect on X and Telegram to stay ahead of what's next. All right, with that, let's get into the markets, and I'll do my best Mando impression for us here this morning, folks. Hopefully he will join us in the studio, we will certainly see. I am sharing stream for those who are in the stream. We are streaming live on Kick and X. Make sure to join us in there. So looking at the crypto major board, a little bit more sideways chop. Seems to be kind of the story of this week. We are up off the local bottoms. I think we got into the 106s on Bitcoin yesterday, back to 1092. So green on the day. That's positive. ETH down 0.5%, 38.30. BNB is in green again, up 0.5%, 1080. Solana leading the way for majors, up 2% here, 189.50. In terms of macro news, not a ton really in the last 24 hours that jumped out to me. I think we're still waiting some of the big economic numbers and indicators. I thought we were supposed to get some today. I don't know if those have really come out yet. The government shutdown, of course, impacting a lot of this. Some new sanctions on Russian oil companies from Trump. More back and forth and rhetoric on this trade war. Not a whole lot of developments there. It does seem like something is happening in the quantum space. I saw some headline out of Google had a quantum breakthrough, and now the Trump administration is in talks to take some equity stakes in some quantum companies.
Do you remember what was it, the lukewarm semiconductor thing, that phase that we went through? We thought the whole world was going to get flipped on its head for like about a week.
I do.
Like quantum has been like a similar thing in the background for what, the last 5 years, 10 years of like this ever present but still down the road thing. So like I'll believe it when I see it situation, because I remember like the entire globe freaked out for the whole of like a week and a half until we're like, oh, never mind, it was, faked.
Yeah, that's kind of where I lean with the whole quantum issue and crypto. And I think if you're in the camp that these, like all the Bitcoin wallets are going to get hacked with quantum computing, there's a lot of other implications to
much bigger problems. Yeah,
like everything is just going to get hacked.
Yes. And frankly, just seeing how the markets have been moving the last week, like, did you see the Google 100 billion, 180 billion wipe and then like reclaim on the ChatGPT announcement?
On Google stock?
Google stock. So like, and it's just like less about this specifically and more just like how the market is behaving roughly. Like, look at that dip right there. Yeah. What happened was ChatGPT released their Atlas browser, and people are like, oh, Google's screwed. Dumped the price. It lost about 180 billion in market cap. But then after people actually looked at what the thing was, they go, oh, it's just an extension of the Chromium browser. It's just sitting on top of Chrome, not bearish. And then they bought it all right back. So it's like everything is so reactive right now across the markets, whether it's in equities or crypto, that like, man, it's just hard to give too much weight to any breaking news right now because everything is just sloshing around.
Mag 7 traders, they're just like us.
Throw a tie on us, bro. Get us out there. Put us on the floor.
I think there's something to be said with stocks basically trading at all-time highs. I do feel like that adds to it, right? Like any hints of something negative, folks are just reaching for a reason to hit the sell button right now.
Yeah.
But, the trend remains up and to the right, at least here in the near term. Rounding this out for other macro news, again, there wasn't really a whole lot. I think there's some Barron sharing some money manager survey sentiment. About half of folks expecting higher stock prices over the next 12 months versus 28%. So folks are getting a little bit more bullish. It looks like stocks are green here on the day after yesterday's red. NASDAQ up 0.5%. Tesla down. So what, Tesla missed earnings? I actually didn't have a chance to check in on that. So Tesla might be down on the day. Let's see. Down 3%, but rebounding. So broader outlook on Tesla. I'm still remaining a Tesla bull long term. Gold up 1%. Let's see.
Nice. Yeah, it sold off pretty heavily the last few days, right? I think I saw it extended to 8% over 2 days, roughly.
Yeah.
Whoa,
down off the low.
Is this a MYRIAD extension? You pulling that in?
How about that? Thank you for noticing that. So
that's great.
Now, if you've got the MYRIAD extension installed, whenever you're searching relevant topics, they will surface a relevant market for you. So if you see you're checking gold price, one click to just go ahead and bet on what you want. I also noticed it in like the block. I was reading the block's MegaETH article from this morning that has a MYRIAD market.
So it's doing a pretty good job of being context aware.
So it is starting to be plugged in more places. So shout out to the MYRIAD team for that. Other macro news.
I broadly believe in that thesis. I think it is we will see a merger of these prediction markets and news broadly. So I know you guys see for all the time, so I don't have to talk about that too much, but I'm aligned.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about it first. Do you guys chat about prediction markets much on the Modern Market Show? I'm unable to tune in because I'm heads down writing at that time every morning.
Yeah, everyone's cramming in the mornings. I mean, we do. We like to reference it. We see it as a truth-seeking vehicle, the same way that most do. So so yeah, like we use it as reference points whenever we try to talk about how things are going. So even like with this gold stuff, or like the government shutdown, like what the market is predicting, we think the news is most accurate coming from a financially driven vehicle.
Makes sense. Paul, the news out prediction markets, if folks didn't see this, Polymarket funding at a valuation of up to 15 billion now. Just a few weeks after 10 billion? So they're already up another 15% and clearly continuing on their raise tour. And then Kalshi is reportedly raising at 10 billion per a Bloomberg report. And they were at
they need to expand. Everyone needs to expand their KOL net. So like, these guys aren't cheap. We do another raise, splash out some stuff. Makes sense.
Got to pay for these badges somehow.
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know that, and I'm not deep in the angel investing pre-public company like raising streets. But like these guys are literally like up in their raises every 2 or 3 weeks at this point.
It feels like a crazy pace to me. I think it is largely they're just driven on each other, knowing that there's land to be grabbed and that there is stiff competition, right? So both of them are just in an arms race right now to deploy as much capital as possible. It reminds me of like Uber Lyft, right? Uber Lyft, both were just like subsidizing the crap out of their actual riders. Both of them were basically free for a couple of years for anyone that did it, trying to land grab. And then ultimately now they turned on the fee switch and, it's back to normal. And I think Uber's actually taken large market share, but it strikes me as a similar thing. New vertical, 2 teams that are kind of like dominant in it and just like arms race.
Makes sense. That analogy is there. I also the DraftKings FanDuel battle.
Yeah,
I don't know if
great.
you remember that. Every Sunday you couldn't turn on your TV and not get bombarded with those ads as they were.
How are you doing in your fantasy leagues this year?
Oh, I'm basically out.
It's week 7, you're cooked.
Crypto is enough for me, and I just have zero edge in sports, and I've kind of come to realize that over time. And I just don't have the time with the kids. Like I don't watch sports. I can't find the time for it. And without watching it, now I'm just like totally gambling.
So yes, like I was in the league for like 15 years. I was also out, and I was out for the last couple of years because I lived in Europe and it was just hard to watch anyways. But this year I'm back in and I've merged the two. So now I'm in a fantasy team with a bunch of crypto people. And what we do is every week, so we all had to pitch in. It's like a $4,000 pot is what it built up to. And every week, whoever the top scorer is gets to gamble with the pot. So like they get to go and like buy meme coins or do whatever, we make plays. So like now the group is like collectively trying to make plays with our pot because the winner gets 80% of it and the loser the worst player gets like, 10% or whatever it is.
That's incredible. I do love that twist.
But yeah, I'm gambling. I don't watch anything. I haven't seen a game in years, but like I'm number 2 in the league right now, as is the prophecy foretold. Yeah.
That's how it goes sometimes. Well, shout out to that. I'll have to check out leagues like that. I like that twist on how to use the pot. So we had some big headlines there. Just quick plug. Against the Odds is running at 1 p.m. Eastern today, and we've got Polymarket CMO coming on to talk about Polymarket's growth. So very excited for that conversation later this afternoon if folks are around. Just coming back to our macro conversation, I've said I think the gold local top is probably in, but not the midterm top by any means. Now we got reports out of JP Morgan. They're calling for double in 3 years. So 8K gold in 3 years. That's almost 60 trillion, over 50 trillion.
Yeah. I'm not in the business of making like those kind of predictions, but I I feel comfortable identifying trends, and like to me, because this is all like the debasement trade, right? And that's a huge macro trade, and we're seeing all-time highs in American debt. Still, like I think it was like 38 trillion, I think is the number I saw, but still just like I think broadly the sentiment around that is going to be here for a while. And even though yes, little pico top here, but I broadly see trend continuing. Like the debasement thing is still going on. China's still buying, India's still buying. Like they're all allocating out of some equity into gold, and yeah, it's just gonna go.
How do you feel about Bitcoin? Well, we'll talk about ETH in a second.
I think it'll mean revert. I think like I subscribe to people identifying Bitcoin, like we call it digital gold, whatever. I think it has enough of that narrative that people will, whether like they actually believe it or not, people will make that trade because it is such a meme at this point. So I think they're like, you can expect it to mean revert towards like that dominance level against it, or the relative value. And I think it'll pull up with it.
I did enjoy this latest chart graphic, I guess, courtesy of Raul. Bitcoin and gold, we've slapped a 188-day lead on gold here to match it to the best current version.
Love
of
me a good fractal.
So it looks like if we match the 188-day lead pattern specifically, that Bitcoin is on pace for 200,000 by the end of this year, and then 400,000 in
why not
2026. So this is my fractal of the day. Things that help us pass in the micro bear market of mid-October 2025. Mando is in the studio live with us. Mando, GM, how are you doing?
Hey guys, good to see you, Brad. How things?
Hey, buddy. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah,
talking book right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never seen this chart before. So, and I present on Real Vision. So this is the new one.
Brand new, off the presses.
Yeah. Maybe I hadn't seen it before, but yeah, this makes sense. I mean, this and global liquidity are very similar sort of drivers, aren't they? Market feels like it doesn't want to go either way right now, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Feels like if this was to dip below 100K, I think we'd get buyers. But at the same time, it feels like the moment we go and we rally, there's some big seller coming in to like smash us lower. So it's strange.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that 100K number. I got a liquidation hanging out around there. So we're just gonna, we'll strike that from the tape. We got close. I had to manage it before that last dip to what was it, 102, and then we rallied right up. And but
I was gonna ask, you stayed protected on the 1010 flash crash then, Brad?
No, I got goosed hard on that. I took out my biggest long that I've ever taken literally like 3 days before, but I've been doing a pretty decent pair trade. So and I actually didn't get ADL out of my short. So that helped recoup probably about 50% of my losses. But yeah, it was, I was being the good steward of my positions. I was even loading up like, okay, this thing's bleeding down a little bit. I should fill up to make sure I pull down into a safe range. And then obviously it spiked well beyond what I could have even tried to margin up for. So got me on the one side, but I kept the other.
But now you're back in the game.
I can't help it, man. So I just have a quarantined liquid, like a perps Degen portfolio. It's like 10%. It wasn't even 10%, like 5-10% of like my total port. I have like 60% equities and then like the other 40% on chain fucking around. So yeah, I'm still playing around. I got the dial going again, but nothing crazy.
That's part of your hyperliquid bull case right there, folks. After the biggest liquidation in crypto history, folks like Brett are back in the perps game. Just a couple of days rest.
I took a position in hype yesterday.
Ahead of the Robinhood listing.
I didn't know that was coming, but yeah, it's been a good day today. I watched that interview that he did, and I could just tell that like maybe people were going to push it. So I got a little bit lucky, and then Robinhood, I guess that's positive. They've listed a bunch of coins recently, and it hasn't really seen the same sort of reaction from the others, has it?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a great appetite over there.
Yeah.
Everyone's distracted with Beyond Meat.
Fair. I am curious. I saw the TBPN article interview with Jeff. I did not have a chance to listen to it. That show much more traditional tech heavy and tech focused, but they branched into crypto. They had Brian Armstrong on the day before, and now Jeff was on. I think probably one of the first more mainstream, I would call it, Hyperliquid interviews. So we'll see. I feel like it is permeating more mainstream than most other.
Well, there's a hype strategies that also get some airtime on. I think it was CNBC. I saw it on. They're talking bull case, and I think just a lot of it broadly maps over well to their industry because it's just trading, right? So like you talk about economic value, you talk about like all the fees generated, all the same stuff that they're used to, and they're like, okay, cool, this thing is just crushing within a sphere that I don't understand, but I understand the vehicle within the sphere, and so it resonates pretty easily. So
makes sense. Mando, anything else jumping out to you on your macro list? It was fairly quiet day, at least price action wise. I mean, Bitcoin is jumping all over the place right now.
What stood out to me? Just that move in hype. Zcash looks like it's broken down, so it might be in a little bit of a chop or downward trend now. What else has moved? Interesting, yeah, like these revenue protocols are the things that like always look the strongest. Like hype, pump, Athena, all bounce. It does feel like Bitcoin dominance is going to the moon. I have to say, like this thing just it seems very like a very painful move higher. It's back up to 60% now. Yesterday, it really just felt like, oh, alts are just getting slaughtered here. I think the longer this chop continues, the more Bitcoin dominance goes up. And my gut is the chop continues for the next 6 weeks. So
6 weeks. It's going to be a painful 6 weeks for
maybe 4 or 5. Thanksgiving. Let's say Thanksgiving.
I guess we did get some a new token hit the market here this morning. We haven't talked about this yet at all. Meteora is officially live. The airdrop went, I want to say 9 a.m. Eastern. That claim was live. Folks got their LP positions. It was trading at around $1 billion FTV, 1 billion on the pre-markets on whales at least. Now at 600 million FTV. So it took a bit of a hit. I don't think a huge surprise to most folks in this market that folks would take airdrop profits on the first day. So we'll see where this finds a bottom and perhaps starts to rebound. Brett, any thoughts on the MET token on your side?
Yeah, I'm looking at some metrics because we love comps in this space. So like Meteora, TVLs at 7-day. I don't like looking at 7-day fees because this thing's hot right now. So like if we just look at 30-day fees, it's second. So it's pretty high up there, but pretty wide margins at 80 mil. PancakeSwap is only at 60 mil. Uniswap's crushing everyone. So yeah, I've been looking at Radium inside that same ecosystem. Just like that's the dominant pair. So Radium is the one that a lot of the bonk ecosystem stuff was migrating to. Then you have PumpSwap, and then you have this. Radium's crushing them on TVL. They have 2 billion to the 700 mil. Radium's number 4. So I would want to look at those tokens and see kind of what they're being priced at to see if I would judge that this thing is above or below what I think is fair market value for what the construction is. It's a little different because it's a DLMM versus just like a regular AMM. But DEX is broad, like Mando's just alluding to the revenue meta. Like I just like to see tokens that are actually generating revenue, and then they have some kind of model in place that actually like makes it equity like. I think those things are the most durable right now, and I think they'll continue to be the durable thing over the next few months.
Makes sense.
With Radium. What is this?
Good comp. I was just looking at the FTV, so it's at 976, so about 60% above, which feels like somewhat in line with your TVL numbers you're rattling off, maybe a little bit low of a multiple. So we'll certainly see. Congrats to folks who got the big airdrop today. I know several folks who had pretty nice sized Meteora airdrops coming here today. So a nice Thursday morning for them. Somewhat maybe unfortunate. I mean, read into this for what it is. I haven't had a chance to really dig in. There was a class action lawsuit that was top of news here this morning against Meteora founder Benjamin Chow as the center of the enterprise, and claiming that he was kind of overseeing like 15 different rugs in his time at Meteora. So folks, I'll let you do your own research on that one, dig in. Not the best timing on the TGE day, but I'm not really sure that is what is fundamentally driving price action here today. Another quick article. We've talked about this on the show, but it was interesting to see it again in print. BlackRock's kind of come out and made some comments about their ETF focus and said, hey, we are pretty much focused on Bitcoin and ETH. That's it for the near future. They did acknowledge that there is what they're calling a Cambrian explosion of crypto ETFs. They're expecting basically all the major assets to have ETFs here in the near future. I mean, Safety's chart already has 92 line items in it for crypto ETFs kind of in the queue to start getting approved. So they clearly are coming. As for why they're not getting into the others, basically he's pointing into client demand and saying currently overwhelmingly skewed toward Bitcoin. We've seen some decent ETH ETF inflows this summer. BlackRock clearly doesn't think they've got it yet for the other assets. So I'm not reading into this that you should expect a BlackRock SOL ETF anytime soon, unless they're kind of they're tricking us in this article. I thought another stat that was interesting from this is they were talking about U.S. equity ETFs hold about 20% of the overall U.S. equity market. Crypto ETFs are around just 6%, and pointing to a lot of room for growth still to come in the ETF space. Also mentioning how many players aren't even in the game yet, like Vanguard, and that they expect within months, not years, those other big players to be getting into the game, and conversations are accelerating, which I think is in line with what we're seeing. Right, like Citibank's getting into the custody game. Morgan Stanley's out on the pavement pitching their ETFs now. T. Rowe Price announced they're getting into a crypto ETF yesterday. So it does look like it's coming sooner rather than later. So I thought that was an interesting article.
They're definitely stacking at the moment. I think people are getting slightly frustrated about how long they're having to wait for. I don't know how long this is really going to continue though. Like it feels like, I mean, you're there in the US. Does it feel like it's going to be resolved anytime soon?
I don't feel that way. I don't really feel like they made any progress at all. I mean, it's one of those things where it's, at some point, I mean, the longer it waits, more and more people like aren't being paid, more people are being furloughed, and it becomes a bigger issue. And then it also just raises the question of like, you know, like what is your job? Like you're not doing your job. So I think just out of principle, it has to get resolved. But I think the markets are saying it's becoming one of the odds on favorite to be the biggest shutdown ever.
Yeah, I saw it was like 80% over 30 days, which I think now is 5 days ish away, which I think makes sense. Yeah, so just continue to extend it. I'm the same as you though. Like I didn't ever give any of this stuff any credence before. Like we've faced shutdowns in the past, and it's always just like felt more performative than anything. But I guess at some point it actually does become detrimental. It's just I personally don't feel any of those squeezes until like, you know, the system starts cracking from no one doing anything.
Yeah, like our personal lives haven't really been impacted on a day-to-day basis because they're keeping government employees are still working somehow. Like air traffic controllers are still coming to work. Like we're still running flights in the U.S. But those are the types of things that can start to, I guess, feel more pressure over time. The other macro piece from the day was out of A16Z. They shared their annual State of Crypto 2025 report. We'll encourage folks to take a look at that. Not a whole lot of surprises. I'm curious for your guys' reactions if you had a chance to take a look at it. I'll walk us through the big trends that they pointed out. Just the market growing, passing 4 trillion in market cap for the first time. It's the institutional cycle, things we've been talking about all year. Stable coins going mainstream, the world coming on chain and breakout new apps, perps, prediction markets, RWA tokenization, breaking out in 2025. Infrastructure almost ready for prime time, and technical improvements in blockchains, the converging of AI and crypto, another clear trend from the past year, and then the regulatory push in the U.S. reasserting tech leadership in crypto. So those were the main trends that they pointed out. I don't know that I have any major takeaways from that. I think they're pretty in line with what I would have listed, on the top, 6 to 8 list. Not sure if anything's missing from that list. I was trying to think this morning if there was anything else I would have pointed to as a big trend from this past year. And I couldn't really think of much. And this does feel like the big rock items, but curious if either of you had any reactions to this list if you had a chance to take a look.
Honestly, what I've felt like about crypto this year is that a lot of good things have been able to finally work on the token side. Like a lot of good ideas, let's say, have suddenly just come back with tokens that work. And that's been the main move. And it's been this weird trend where like 12 months ago around this time, if you were to ask, I mean, we spoke about this before, but if you were to ask me what I thought would be the biggest mover after the election, you probably would have given you 10 meme coins, right? And been like, oh, these will 3-4x. And actually what's happened is it's been far more a return to real utility of DeFi and other revenue generating protocols finally being allowed to like fly almost. So if you run through the theme of this, we're back to like DeFi and stable coins being a huge bit of this. And for a long time, there's still some like archaic joke tokens like Uniswaps, but largely everyone is now moving to this new model. And the new protocols that people are really excited about have either got that at their center, if they're like an L1, or they are actually directly dApps, which are going to give you access to like owning a share of that revenue. So, yeah, I don't know in 12 months if that's still going to be the same, but all tokens are now starting to feel a lot more like stocks. They're starting to feel a lot more like when like 2020, 2021, people were doing like analysis of tokens and their revenue and that sort of stuff. And then everyone realized they weren't going to get a slice for a long time. And now it feels like that's what's working again. Memes ever since the Trump millennium thing have kind of returned. They just haven't been hot because everyone's like, why would I own that when I can own something which is a bit more real suddenly? The joke was that the real stuff in crypto, the tokens sucked. And now they're real. So like people actually are yeah. And now the larpiness comes from like the TAMs that people are talking about. Like when Jeff goes on TBPN and says, look, I want to take over the whole of finance. That's the larpiness. But like at least the business is real and everyone's like, oh, I can get behind it. So there probably will be a ceiling to that, I think, with time, most probably. Like everything, I'm sure we'll have lots of vampire attacks in the future for perp dexes and stable coins and neobanks and all this sort of stuff. But eventually people will be like, this is a bit boring. And I do think we'll probably return at some stage to kind of the original, these are currencies, not just stocks. And maybe we'll get more like meme-like things come back, like Bitcoin. But for now, it's utility is king. And that's been the theme, I think, across everything. Utility was a joke 12 months ago, right? Utility was now it's not.
I don't know if I could have written a better seg into our MegaETH discussion with Brad than what you just delivered, Mando. So thank you for that. We do want to make sure we have enough time to dig in. MegaETH has had a ton of announcements. Yesterday we've had the public ICO. We've known about that for a week, a little over a week now. Yesterday,
registration kicked off last week, and the details dropped yesterday.
But speaking of giving tokens utility and making them investable, it seems like we've got a new update this morning. So folks sent this to me in chats, basically saying, I don't know what this means, but it's provocative. I'd love for you to perhaps, I think one thing you're good at is putting complex things into layman's terms. So why don't you walk us through this morning?
Yeah, I got a backlog of some pictures to make for this stuff. So, all right, so you guys covered like the ICO yesterday, I'm assuming, and like what the details were there and like what we're aiming to do.
We did. I'm happy to rehash that as well.
And I think not important. I mean, I'll just say, like, I just said for the listeners, if they weren't attending yesterday's show. So like yesterday, like we released the details of what the ICO is. It's through Sonar. It'll take place on Monday. starts at 1 million FDV, will go to 999 million FDV, which is a self-imposed cap by us. Minimum bid is 2650, which is the original price of what the fluffles were. It was 1 ETH priced in February of last year or this year. So we just mirrored that. And then the cap is 186,282, which is the speed of light. So kind of a meme number, kind of big, but not too big. Yeah, so anyone can get in. If we get oversubscribed, then we're going to go to a secondary oversubscription protocol where we're like try to identify people that have either been long-term supporters of either Ethereum or MegaETH, like through DeFi actions, through social stuff, whatever. And we're going to try to make sure that a small amount of people, say a couple hundred people, get very large allocations to make sure that they're properly adjusted, because we think like a core nucleus is good to generate some wealth effects. And then we're going to try to go wide and make sure 5,000-ish people get the minimum. That's the intention. We'll see what the bids actually look like on Monday. It'll run for 72 hours. There's no rush. Again, it's English auction, so it just like starts at 1 million, goes up to 999. You can walk in and bid at the top and walk away, and you'll be fine. You'll be in. Runs for 72 hours, and then like a week later we'll do allocations. That's the current plan.
So when you log into the site and make your first bid, you'll need to set a max price effectively. So if you want,
you can either sit there and maintain it if you want to watch it. If you just want to go away, you can just go max bid 999, and then go home and you're done.
And then the amount that you want to bid. And it looks like there's a min. Folks do need to go through setup on the site registration.
Yeah, this is through Sonar, which is the Echo, adjacent public sale platform. So there's KYC. If you're in the US, you're a accredited investor. One of the things that's we need to follow some laws with this stuff, obviously. So if you're a US investor, you have to be accredited and you're subject to a 1-year lockup. But knowing that, we said, hey, these people will get a 10% discount on their final bid price. So say you get allocation and you get it at 999, you'll get the 10% discount if you're locked up. So that means your clearing price will actually be 900 million. And then everyone else, whether or not they're a US resident, has the ability to opt into a 1-year lockup to get that same 10% discount. So anyone can do that, but the US is mandatory.
Interesting. And another big event that happened yesterday, just quick interjection here, Brett. MegaETH did start trading on Hyperliquid perps pre-market, and it's trading right around 5 billion. It's been a little bit of a volatile first day. I'm not totally unsurprised.
Yeah,
but that's 5x the max price for the ICO. Did the team know that this was being listed on?
No, all these, because this is all synthetic, right? So all this perp stuff, everyone is just depositing USDC, and they're knife fighting over the USDC, speculating on price, right? None of these assets are actually on this thing. So the second we disclosed that what our total supply would be, gave them enough information to be able to list this. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I think it actually went out live on Lighter, the same thing. They just, it got fired up.
That's good to know. I actually wasn't never sure, how that process started and if the team had to give some type of approval or not. No. So there you have it. It makes the ICO a little bit more interesting and certainly intriguing to those who don't have the lockup, for sure, right? I mean, you're basically looking at at current prices an immediate 5x. So I've already seen the threaders going around about maxing it, KYCing all of their friends and family. Yeah. So certainly some excitement, but I do want to talk about what the token actually is.
Yeah,
and we got you shed some light on the team shed some light on that this morning. I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, so there's 3 things that we're gonna call out. One of them is tomorrow, so you guys get some more details there. What we're calling out here specifically is 2 mechanics that we'll have built into our construction. So one is the sequencer rotation. The other one is proximity markets, which if you're familiar with how TradFi works, you would understand how that works. So the first one is, if you're familiar with how L2s work, right? You have one big box. That one big box is the thing that is valuable. It orders the transactions, it builds the blocks, whatever. Just one thing in the world. Whereas like Ethereum has, 5,000 distributed across the world that are building blocks. So for us, we have this one big box. It's what makes us very big, very fast, whatever, even though we get some of the properties from Ethereum. And we are basically allowing for anyone to run that box. And we're also rotating it across the world, right? So because you have one big box, if you're in Tokyo, like everything for Hyperliquid, all of those validators, everything building blocks is located in a data center in Tokyo, all 21 of them. So if you are someone transacting on Hyperliquid from, say, New York or me on the West Coast, my distance and my latency to that thing is materially worse every second of the day from anyone who is located in Tokyo, right? It's just like physics. That's how it works. So the principle here is like, if we're going to have our one big box that does this, what we'll do is we'll try to rotate it with the activity of the, or the proximity of the sun, right? So as Tokyo goes to bed and New York is waking up, the big box, the one that will be in Tokyo will be inactive and the one in New York will be activated. So now the people waking up, starting trading, doing their daily stuff, they are now having lower latency to the thing that is actually producing the stuff for the chain. And in that, along with that rotation, will allow for other entities to do it. So it's not always a MegaETH person entity that's running the box. We say, hey, anyone can run this box in this data center. You guys bid with the Mega token. You guys can then get the slot, say it's a day, say it's a month, whatever we determine the slot to be. Then you guys can build the blocks. You guys can, maybe charge a little bit of margin. You can do productive MEV, whether it's like back running, stuff like that. You can produce your own like market make, whatever. And then that will let that person generate revenue, and they have to do that through the Mega token. So that's the one thing. I'll pause there in case you have any questions.
Have you seen that, Michael? Have you read that Michael Lewis book, Flash Boys? Have you seen that?
Yeah. Same shit.
Where they have to put the because this is like really big for high frequency trading firms, where they have to they run their own fucking fiber optic cable from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange all the way to New York because
or ride a horse.
Either one. But yeah, I didn't think that
that's what they used to do.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So you're going to like the next one because so one, that's the thing to be the box, right? To be the valuable box that's building the transactions, to doing the thing. The next one that we're calling proximity markets. What that is that big box. Like obviously it's valuable to be as close as possible to this box, right? So if you're a market maker, you want to have predictable latency to this thing. And if you're familiar with how the NASDAQ works, right? The NASDAQ is a market, and they literally have basically very stringent rules around how close market makers and these trading firms can be to physically to the thing that is the exchange, right? So you say, the cable has to be measured to be 50 feet. Everything is identical. They're identical 50-foot cables. It's very outlined, but they're competing for literal floor space, right? So it's a data center where the one box is the thing that has all the value, that's producing the value, and everyone else is paying to be as close as possible to this thing. So what we're doing is we are building out our own floor space to make sure that we have everything that is directly adjacent to this big box for us that we eventually will let people compete for. And we are allowing for, say, market makers or applications or whatever to bid with a Mega token to be as close as possible to the sequencer. So it's very, very similar to the model from for HFT firms from the traditional finance. They're just paying for that floor space. Yeah.
This is super smart. A Hyperliquid thinking about doing that too? I mean, we have to. I think about this sort of stuff because obviously we run a casino with a live sports book, and you have to have local servers for where else people can really sharp trade you, right? Like if they're at the sports game and they've seen the goal, you can make a lot of money doing it. But
so two things on that. One, you're totally right. It's actually done a little bit today, but it's really hard in with an L1 because the node building the block is constantly jittering all over the place, right? It's different for Hyperliquid because they tightly control it, right? They say, if you want to be a Hyperliquid validator, you have to be in this data center in Tokyo, basically. If not, then you get penalized for being a bad validator, even though it's physics that's penalizing you. So we everyone does that, but what people don't realize is this actually still takes place even with on Solana, right? In Solana world, even though yes, Solana is a fairly decentralized L1, it's got a bunch of things building blocks all across the world. It's always random. It's bouncing all over the place. The thing that isn't random is Jito. Jito has a specific data center that they operate out of. So the floor space next to the Jito bundler is actually been climbing astronomically the last, year and a half, because people know we're going to send our stuff to Jito first anyways, and then Jito is going to forward it to the block builder. So the proximity to that has been leaking out of the Solana ecosystem for a long time.
Can you give an example? So why in layman's terms, so why does that matter? So because in periods of volatility, you can be the one who gets the best price? Or
So it doesn't matter for you and I. It doesn't, like, not necessarily. What it matters for is market makers wanting to come on chain, and then people like Mando talking about that, like, have information asymmetry that can get their information in faster than like the sport book and like balance or pull bids off. So like if you're a market maker, right? If you have bid, like that's the cancel priority from Hyperliquid is kind of trying to do this for a lot of people, where it says, hey, we run the books, right? We have a lot of information, like a lot of resting orders on the buy, sell, on the sell side, whatever. And we need to make sure that we have the ability to get in and cancel this thing with consistency, right? So like if in Solana's world, like if you see a video of like the next random block builder, one day it's in Tokyo, 5 seconds later it's in New York, 5 seconds later it's in Southern Africa, 5 seconds later it's in, you know, Germany, right? So if I'm a market maker, it means that I'm sending my cancel, and in any given second, it could be 10 milliseconds to get there, or it can be 150 milliseconds to be there, or it could be 3 seconds to get there, because the routing to get to that thing is always random and it's always undetermined. And for me as a market maker, where my margins are razor thin and I do it through volume, if I can constantly get picked off in this environment, because like I never know, because it's truly random, what the next thing is, it just means I can't run stuff on chain. Like it's just not conducive to me being able to do stuff, because transaction fee is inconsistent, the latency is inconsistent. It's just very hard to do, which is why in Hyperliquid's world, everything is tightly coupled. Everyone knows it's closely in Japan, like in Tokyo, that they can have like a little bit more expectations, but it's still, they have consensus, they have all this other stuff. We are just trying to create a predictable enough environment so that market makers can come on time and they can say with high level of confidence that it'll be 5 milliseconds to get my order in on chain. It will be this cost. It will be whatever. It's just a lot of predictability to allow them to manage the book, which for us, even though like we don't feel it with like our individual orders, it means tighter spreads. It means deeper liquidity. It means like these people can actually facilitate markets.
And that's where I was going with my next question. So you're all clearly leaning into real-time markets, which I think has been a hallmark of MegaETH and the MegaETH pitch since inception. But what kind of apps should people expect? Like what will be on MegaETH?
We're trying to make sure we don't have an outcome where we don't have enough liquidity. Like we believe in DeFi. Obviously, we're like tuning a lot of this stuff to that. So I expect a lot of DeFi applications. We already have a bunch in our current accelerator cohorts, and actually both of them. So you'll have a lot of like the traditional stuff, but we'll also have like some unique DeFi elements. Like we'll have a lending order book, right? So like it'll be the first CLOB order book on chain. So you can actually have yields that are in price discovery, which is kind of interesting, or lending rates that are in price discovery. But then like we also like just the construction itself, the real-time aspect leads to consumer stuff. You've probably talked about Euphoria or Noise or a few of these other applications. It just leads to a good on-chain experience. So, you know, we're not pigeonholing ourselves to like a specific vertical. We're just trying to create an environment where people can kind of fuck around and find out, just like in the EVM environment. I feel like they've been deprived of that for a long time.
Interesting. Do we have any insight yet into when this is all going to take place?
Mainnet?
Yeah, mainnet.
We're not far off. We're you know, we're targeting before the year's up for sure.
All right. Q4 mainnet launch for MegaETH. Write that one down. That is going to be big.
I'd just say like the one more bullet point on that is like all this conversation around like the mega token. So these two things is just that we as a team see and are identifying that like the market is compressing pretty hard on transaction fees as a revenue driver for a lot of these chain tokens. I'm a huge believer in the fat app thesis, right? The apps are going to be the thing that generates a lot of revenue. I think the market hasn't woke up to that yet. If you look at Pump, if you look at Hyperliquid is not priced as a chain. It's priced as an app that is hugely successful. That's why it's generating inordinate amount of fees. So like we are trying to identify extra revenue lanes outside of like purely charging for the margins on top of transaction fees. We're going to be a big fast chain. We want to make sure that we can have a few of these things that are driving value for us as a foundation and ultimately the token. And these are two. The other one is our native stablecoin, which I think people still don't realize like the relative value of that relative to like transaction fees. Like if you look today at like Ethereum, if Ethereum wasn't outsourcing its like that 4% to 8%, depending on what you quote for some of these stablecoin yields, to Tether to Circle to whatever, the same initiative that Hyperliquid just had to try to bring on USDH, it would be generating literally billions of dollars every 30 days instead of $30 million in transaction fees. So if you believe these types of things are going to be the thing forward, like we're capitalizing on them. So we have these two things that we announced today, plus the stablecoin we announced it in partnership with Athena 3 weeks ago ish. We're just trying to identify as many of these things that are synergistic to the ecosystem to prop up value.
And it seems there's more announcements still coming down the pipe. So it looks like what tokenomics may have gotten leaked to a degree. We don't have to go into details on those. I'll let the MegaETH team release them.
Yeah, they're out. I will say the thing that's interesting and that what we'll be talking about tomorrow is KPI unlocks is something we're targeting. So whereas most of these chains are tokens are just pure time based. So it's just your every week, every month, every year, whatever, more and more unlock regardless of the health of the chain. We're orienting around events as opposed to ecosystem aligned events to unlock tokens as opposed to pure time-based stuff. So targets that we've set internally that we think are synergistic with either Ethereum or the ecosystem health. And once those things are hit, it drives our incentive to want to further the chain, and then that will unlock, and people that are aligned during that window will also see benefits.
That's very interesting, right? As I think one of the biggest pushbacks broadly across the industry is just how easy it is compared to traditional finance for crypto teams to get their tokens, dump, and just move on. So you'll have some KPI locks behind these for the team. Are those details going to be public tomorrow as well?
I'm not sure about how much will be unlocked, but like you'll definitely get an overview. Yeah. Of like some of the things that we're targeting, like, so you get an idea of the things that we're thinking about that we like, I'm calling them synergistic to the ecosystem. You'll get an closer idea of what those things are. I'm
curious, you are clearly monitoring this ecosystem and watching what other teams are doing. Are there any other teams that you could point to that you think have done this, like their token launches very well, or that you all have been kind of watching and taking notes on the past year or so?
Token launches specifically is tough, right? Like, I mean, the Hyperliquid is the obvious one. Like, we're a believer in the revenue meta. So like, I think people that are not afraid to give some of that stuff back, regardless of the regulatory environment, have shown to be things that are valuable. I would say like construction wise or technically, teams that were before their time, I still believe Blast was ahead of their time. Like they did the ecosystem first approach with applications and getting people involved. Like we obviously have our accelerator, which is a little more opinionated than what they did with the general builders program, but I think they were good with that. They had some of the novel mechanics with the native yield on the chain and the contract source revenue that was going back to app builders. A lot of that stuff was, I think, directly correct. It's just for whatever reason it disappeared the second the token dropped. We hope to not repeat that, but I think they were directionally right on a lot of stuff.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, Brett, this has been great. I appreciate you kind of shedding light on these announcements. I'll give you a chance. Anything you want to leave our listeners with? What do they need to know, if they are interested in getting involved in ICO? Any other things they should look out for?
Yeah, I would just go to the main handle. So it's at MegaETH_labs. All the information's there. We're trying to keep the volume a little low. Like one or two big posts a day. We're trying to keep the volume a little low so you guys have all the information pretty succinctly. Just go sign up if you're interested in the thing for Monday. Reach out if you guys are having issues with some of the sign up stuff, because we're experiencing some of that. And we're trying to forward it onto the appropriate teams. So we're trying to do the best we can there. But do that and then just look for more announcements. We'll have more to come.
And when does the sale go live officially?
Officially live on Monday. It'll go for 72 hours. So ends Wednesday. And then a week after that is when we plan to have the allocations out.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Brett, thank you so much for joining us and talking markets along with MegaETH. I think we are going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I went around the horn on today's topics. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in here today. I want to thank our partner, and of course, thanks my co-host and Brett for stopping by. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern for another episode of FOMO Hour. I think Farouk is back, finally, back with us tomorrow. So you'll want to be here for that. Until then, go make it a beautiful day. Goodbye.